Welcome back, everybody. This is our second interview, second half hour with Chris Jones, the owner of St. Louis Residential Roofing and St. Louis Roofing Company, based here out of St. Louis since 1848. We knew we were getting an expert, and we had somebody that has a company that's been around for that long. The expertise you guys have had going on 175 years almost by now. Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But with that, we had a lot we talked about in that first show. So if you missed the first show, check it out. It's on our Facebook, YouTube, website. Go to yourlittlecastle.com, click the link, or go to Chris's stuff. He's got all the information out there on his website. We give a copy to all of our guests here so that they can use this to share what they're an expert with and how they've helped the community a little bit. With that, we've got a lot more to talk about here in the second half of our interview because Chris has got a lot of information to share with everybody. So, Chris, welcome back to the studio for show number 2 here.
Thanks, Carter.
Lots of great information you shared with us on that first show. Check that one out, everybody. As we continue here, though, I like to get into, I'm a techie nerd. I built our studio that you've seen here in our facility, and it took a lot of work, and it probably all wouldn't have happened if I didn't have some technical background. Obviously, I used to build the Microsoft Exchange servers for Anheuser-Busch back in the day. That was where I guess a little bit where I got started. I built one in my basement, and they said, "You've never done this before." I said, "I've got one in my basement." They said, "Oh, okay." Before long, I was building for corporate stuff at Anheuser-Busch. But the technology has really changed over the years. How has technology affected and changed the way you guys do business? And because back in the day, everything on paper, writing things down, that's cool. Got a nice solid hard copy. But digitally now everything's moved. What changes have happened in the industry that affected you guys?
Yeah, that's a great question. We use technology every day, just from, basic cell phones, texting, and our, we always want to be urgent when we get back. We want to, if you call us, we're going to call you back quickly. That's very important to us. So our guys have tablets in the field, which is just a wonderful tool, to have kind of, the tablets are so powerful today. It's like a mobile office, and we get the good ones. They can do everything. Okay. So when it comes down to estimating, that's a lot of what we do is, hey, how much is that going to cost? And there are programs today that will take a satellite image of your house. Think it's not Google Earth, but think how you can look kind of that satellite view from your house.
Gotcha.
And it will measure the roof of the house with a satellite picture. So we'll take that picture and we can upload it into our estimating program that stores it, but also reads it and takes all the measurements, and will create an estimate. So we can literally pull up to your house and with this tablet, order the image from above and do the takeoff within minutes. And again, the level of urgency is there, and we love to get right back to people immediately and help them along with the process of getting a new roof. So that's one example of.
And that makes it easier for you so that you can make these adjustments. And because if you're putting together an estimate for somebody, you don't want to leave anything out. You want to make sure all the right orders are put in place to get the right materials and everything.
You bet.
And I guess I heard Xactimate, and you use you have got 2 softwares you use to cover everything, I guess. Tell me a little bit about those.
We do. So our in-house program is called AccuLinks, and we use that on every job. It just keeps all the job data together, and it does that estimating function. And then there's another program called Xactimate, which is a software program sort of developed for the insurance industry. So since, people will claim, hail damage or storm damage to their insurance company, and it's nice to have the program that the insurance company uses, so you're kind of speaking the same language.
Right.
So
okay.
we have both, and we're experts in the use of both of those.
Okay, yeah, because I can imagine software these days runs the world, right? How often do you have somebody have something where they're not using some kind of software on the business side of things, but it's a matter of coordinating everything, getting everything input. AccuLinks, and then Xactimate. But by the time you put those 2 together, now you've really got the whole thing covered, and so that somebody's not being left out with it. Hey guys, we're missing 30 shingles over here.
Right.
How are we going to cover this? The rainstorm's coming, kind of thing.
Sure.
Going on.
Yeah. The difference between the 2 is it's pretty simple. The Xactimate uses usual and customary pricing in your market area, and it updates every 2 to 4 weeks. And with AccuLinks, we input our pricing for, the materials and the labor and the dumpsters and all that stuff. And then we maintain that database ourselves. But But beyond that, they both do basically the same thing. They figure out how many shingles you need and how many hours is it going to take, and out of the end spits out a number, and then we go from there. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, again, attention to detail can be aided by the software that allows them to kind of match all these things up.
Absolutely.
Well, then along those lines, tell me the process. Somebody says, Chris, I love you guys. I want to get this done. Tell me the process. How does somebody get started to you, and then walk me along the path after they get started with you. What you're going to go out there to do an estimate and take it from there.
Sure. Yeah. The first thing you do is you go look at their house, and figure out, you're looking for a quantity takeoff. So you want to understand, how much roof do we have here? You want to determine, hey, do the gutters need to be replaced? Do they want to replace the gutters? That's an important thing to do. If you want to do it, it's nice to do it all at the same time, right? And then we look at access. Can you pull right up to the house, or are you gonna damage flower beds or a driveway? And we try to take care not to damage people's stuff.
Right. Sure.
So that's all the data that we gather when we meet with the folks, and that's kind of where it starts. As far as the process of building a roof,
Well, yeah. Then after that, what do they expect? And they're going to come out there, and you don't ask for money down. Is that true, or how?
We don't, Carter. I'm a firm believer in on residential projects, pay us when we're finished and you're satisfied. I think that's the right way to do it. So
that's just kind of unique, because most people do want something down. Say, hey, get some skin in the game. We're going to make sure that these guys are ready to have us through the roof. But
Yep.
You're saying, hey, we've done this along. We got some money in the bank. We'll take care of this for you. And then as they finish up, and how often does it take to generally do a roof? It can range, but are you out there? You got your foreman, you got your crew. Tell me the process a little bit. They deliver the shingles and then they walk them up the roof?
Yeah, residential roofs will usually stock the roof on, we'll stock it on a Monday and we'll roof it on a Tuesday, and most of them are 1 to 1.5 day jobs. So
Okay.
it goes pretty quick. Depending on, sometimes we can pull a conveyor truck up and stock it right off the truck, right up the conveyor belt. Sometimes that doesn't, the situation doesn't allow for that, and then
Right.
you're putting them on the ground, and in which case we have I'll call it a conveyor ladder. We have a ladder with a hoist on it that safely, so, you really don't want guys, if you can avoid it, climbing up ladders with shingles on their shoulders.
Yeah, they're strapping these things up. They're going up. How much does a pallet of shingles go for? How much do they weigh? A couple £100 probably.
Well, a bundle of shingles is, it's heavy. It's like a sack of concrete. A couple of them is, can be, 50, 80 pounds,
Right.
So that'll beat you up before you even start doing the work,
Yeah.
So we try to avoid that and use equipment and, to do the heavy lifting. So, and then, the guys will get in, they'll tear off and put the underlayment down. And, we always go over any special details that, roofs tend to leak where different components come together. So where the roof and the wall meet, or where a pipe comes out, or,
Okay.
when the wide open flat spots are typically a little easier to get right.
Right.
And so we go over all the details and, ensure that we have a plan for each detail. That's very important, not to make it up as you go. That has to be figured out before you get started. So we get a little OCD with that, I'll be honest with you, but it's the most important thing, because nobody wants to put a new roof on and have a leak. That's just a disaster. So it's like getting new tires on your car and then you pull out and you have a flat tire right away. You don't want that. So anyway, and then we'll set up our catch-all system. So it's this.
Okay.
It's a pretty extravagant netting system, and it's breathable, so
Okay.
it won't kill your grass or your flowers or whatever. But it goes vertically and horizontally. So
Okay.
it's a nifty thing. I give the guys that invented it credit. I saw it at a roofing convention several years ago, and I had to have one. So. But we can literally wrap the entire perimeter of your house, the walls, and then it comes out about 8-10 feet, and it'll cover all your bushes and grass and driveway and all that stuff. It breathes, so you're not going to kill the grass. And then at the end, all the debris, you can easily take it over to the dumpster and, discard it, and it just makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say, by the time you've done this, if you've got a bunch of nails laying around on the ground, that can cause a lot of problems for kids. And just
Yeah.
who wants a rusted nail laying in their yard, especially dozens of those, and tar and pieces of shingle.
All that
None of that is a problem because of the systems you guys use.
Yeah, it really eliminates a lot of that. So it's good. We still go around with magnets.
Okay.
Every job gets magneted at least 3 times. If it's a big one, it'll get magnet 5 times.
Okay.
And by different people, so I figured everybody does it a little differently. So
Okay.
so the roofers do it a couple times, and then our guys do it a couple times. So when we go to meet the client at the time of completion, we always do the magnet one more time. And I think 2 things will catch. If there's just one nail you caught, great, that's great. But I think it gives the homeowner a sense of complete. Hey, these guys are out here checking and thoroughness. And it makes them feel good. Makes me feel good. So.
Well, yeah, it sounds like as a matter of doing a job thoroughly, you guys are really on the ball there. I had not even heard of a system like that before. I've talked to a couple of roofing guys. I guess just didn't get into the topic, but I mean, I can imagine, and especially going around with magnets, not once or twice, but 3 to 5 times.
Yep.
Making sure that this whole job gets done complete and everything, all the extra materials are not left laying there. I put up on the wall here your other website, and this is for St. Louis Roofing. So that's SAINT, LouisRoofing.com, and your wife helps to run that. She's the owner in charge of. Tell me the situation there, so people. But that's more for the commercial side. Is that true?
It's commercial industrial. My wife is the majority owner of that entity. They're the residential and St. Louis Roofing are separate entities, and I had an opportunity to buy St. Louis Roofing, the commercial company, in 2016, and really neat company. Been around for a very long time, and has had a nice. The previous owners were really good guys. Really ran a good shop with a good reputation, and I had the privilege of really building on that, and then you probably wonder, how did my wife get involved? Well, we were at a point in our lives where she was ready to change careers. She had been a pharmaceutical rep for about 24 years probably, and was just looking to do something different. And I thought, boy, why don't you get involved in the roofing business? And she did for about a year, and she really liked it, and we worked very well together, which doesn't always happen in a couple that go into business together. But
Sure.
we were blessed that it worked out. And at that point, she said, "Hey, Chris, why don't we look at this WBE, this certification of a woman-owned business?" And she went through that whole process, and it's not easy to get that certification, but she got it, and she's been recertified every year since then. You have to go through it every year and we have some customers on the commercial side that appreciate, doing work with a woman-owned business. So it seemed like a good idea. So.
Well, it sounds like you put together a good team. She's got the background, especially with doing pharmaceutical sales. There's a lot of responsibility there. So now take a little load off here and run your own company for a while, which is a lot of responsibility, obviously, too.
Yeah.
But she can handle it. Sounds like you guys are doing well with that.
Yeah. She does a great job.
That's cool. All right. Well, tell me a little bit. What is a challenge you've personally dealt with, or something you saw a client go through? How did you learn from that challenge? We always, because you haven't been on this planet too long until you've actually been through something that was difficult.
Yeah.
I went through a bad accident, was in a coma. That's a big challenge. Maybe not to that extent, but
Right.
what kind of a challenge would you say really helped you guys grow and learn a little bit about your business?
Boy, that's a good question. I would go back to when COVID hit, and not just us, many businesses had a little bit or a lot of trouble navigating that. And fortunately, because we were in construction, we were deemed an essential, workforce. Okay. So we got to, we had the ability to keep working, but the challenge was in March I still have the legal pad. In March of, I guess that was what, 2020, we had all of our backlog cancel. So we only had 20 days of work out ahead of us under contract.
Oh, wow.
And you know, it was, you know, we've always managed the business very conservatively and always tried to have resources on hand for tough times, but we really had to have a heart-to-heart talk with our group, and we figured out that we needed to call all these people that canceled, and we didn't get all of them to move forward, but we got enough to say, okay, we'll do it. We'll stick with the roofing plan and do it.
Okay.
And yeah, that was a tough time.
Yeah, there was a lot of businesses who did not make it through that period in the country here because it was so much of a hurdle to overcome and such restraint on the whole economy and the businesses and everything they could do. But
yeah,
many of you made it through, and congratulations on that. It sounds like you're kind of doing very well at this point, so that's good to see too.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell me then, what is a major objection a lot of people have when people are considering this? They say, is it always price, or what's the biggest objection people have when they're getting ready to make a decision about doing their roof?
Yeah, I think it is price usually. These are big ticket items. You know, a residential roof can be, you know, 15 to, you said 30, 40, 50. It can be. I think we just completed a $100,000 residential roof about a month ago. You know, they're big ticket items. Commercial roofs, you know, it can be 50,000. It could be, we did a $3 million roof on one building. It was $3 million. You know, that's a big number, you know, for people, and everything in between. I caution people though, the lowest price isn't always the best bet. You know, I always, you know, one of the guys in the office says, you know, can you get a car for $500? Well, of course, yes, you probably can, but do you want that car? You know, so
Right.
we kind of joke with that, but yeah, I caution people on price. It's, you know, it's usually the middle bid. I've done enough construction. The low bid, the guy missed something and you're going to pay for it down the road anyway.
Yeah.
The guy that's real high is probably too busy for you. That's why he's like, well, if I get it at this price, I'll make it work, you know, for me. And it's usually the guy in the middle and that's where we try to live is in the middle. And then people look at us and they say, okay, these guys do it right. They're fair. Their price is reasonable. It's not the highest. It's not the lowest. So.
Yeah, as my dad would always say, shout out to Dad, cheap can get very expensive, right?
Yes.
Because when you're just cutting corners on something, like you said, there's something getting left out, and you don't want that something left out to be critical. And I can't imagine what part of the roof that you left out that wouldn't be critical, and so that then big problems later.
Yep.
Something you don't want to have
Yep, you're right.
happen when you are trying to sell your house 5 or 10, 15 years later, and you've got to deal with that.
Yeah.
Well, tell me, what gives you the most satisfaction on what you do here? When you're helping a family, you see put together the house, they just got hit by a big storm and they're going, oh my gosh, our house is destroyed. What gives you the most satisfaction about what you're doing here?
Yeah, there's in the home services, and you'll relate that you've talked to so many people and in the space, and for every good one, there's so many and sometimes it's not their fault. They're just getting started and they don't understand how to deliver quality at a reasonable price. But helping people make good decisions, whether they use us or not, but to understand what's the scope of their project, what's the cost of the project, even if it's just a magnitude budget. I like sharing, you know, I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable in that, and I like sharing that with the public. I think gives me a lot of satisfaction. I'm kind of the guy in my family that it could be carpeting, windows, you know where I'm going, like new landscaping, or I want to remodel the basement. My phone rings just because I've been in construction for a long time, and
Right.
I know people, or I know how it goes together or whatever. So anyway, being able to share that knowledge is very rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah, as somebody, when you bring the breadth of knowledge that you have, and most people, if I'm a heart surgeon, then I don't necessarily have a whole lot of people. And they may have a question about that, but I mean, pertaining to relevant things that you're going to really get into a discussion about that really affects somebody, I guess as much heart disease other. Maybe there's some people that deal with that, but that's not something I want to get into. I turn that over entirely to the doctor, to the expert. But the roofing, I'm like, do I need to call somebody? Can I fix it myself? Can my brother-in-law do it?
Sure.
How do we get this thing fixed so that I can live in my house? Because it's going to be something pertaining like right now that you've got to deal with, and to have the kind of the family expert. Does that the family kind of always comes to you for questions like this?
It does. I get calls all the time, and I'm happy to take them. And with homeowners and potential customers or friends, sometimes money is a real issue, and I've helped people make choices with other roofing contractors before, and where I may have bid on it, but it was super price sensitive, and I'm like, hey, but the guy that's a little lower, he's a good contractor, I know him, and you'll be okay. So I think if we can just help people in that way, it's the right thing to do, and it really is satisfying.
There you go. Do what you can to help the community and others, and things will go your way, right? I think it's Jim Rohn said, your success in life is a direct reflection of how many people, of what you've done to help others, and what you've done to help other people. And so it sounds like you've got that approach towards your business, and just keep doing the work, keep helping people, keep doing things right, and things will go your way.
That's right.
Good note there, everybody. All right, well then tell me, how do you feel you contribute to the community? Do you have any particular organizations you work with? Or, I mean, as an organization that's been around for so long, you've helped a ton with how many neighborhoods have you been in to help keep these houses on track? What do you feel like you do most to help the community?
Yeah, we're passionate about helping, and you got to kind of walk the walk, and it's one thing to say it. We like to, participate and make, donations into a lot of organizations. We're members of the St. Gerard Catholic Church in Kirkwood, and we do quite a bit with and through our church organization. I'm trying to think. My wife, she has a couple things coming up. The rural parish, the rural farm workers. I'm missing the name. The Rural Parish Workers group. They raise a lot of money for people, and then she's also part of a group called the Marthas, where they basically bring in a number of organizations, nonprofits, and they award grants to them. So it's a really neat, powerful group, and they, when I say powerful, I mean they do powerful, they give powerful opportunities to these people, to seek grants and make connections with the right people. So,
yeah, well, St. Louis is such a tightly knit community, if you will, that everybody knows everybody, and your reputation is what you've got in this town. Because if you have ever seen the people who make a mistake, you hear about it, right?
That's right.
And so you don't want to be on that side of the equation. But often, if you're going out, and you listed 4 or 5 different organizations you guys work with, and that's got to just make you feel good. And what do you feel about St. Louis as a community? Is it a pretty well-known, tight knit? How often do you know the other guys you work with, the competitors you've got out there?
Sure.
And everybody kind of plays fair in our community here.
Yeah, I know a lot of the people in my space. Just after you go bid on jobs, so you run into guys and whatever, and I feel like I know who the good ones are, and there's a lot of good ones, but in our space with storms and storm chasers and that, I caution, they're not all good, so I'm a big buy local guy. I think that's a good thing to insert into this conversation. Is, maybe look for the guys that have a local phone number, and they're going to be here if something comes up.
How often is it the case that there are quote unquote storm chasers? I guess that's going to happen no matter where you're at, because they see dollar signs and they'll drive up from, I won't name any other cities, but they'll drive up from wherever or from wherever and say, hey, big storm hit down there. What should somebody really watch out for? Is it ever worth using a storm chaser type business? Because it's more than anything afterwards what you're going to deal with. Or tell me other cautions that people should have about that.
Yeah, there's a couple things, and they come from farther, Carter. I mean, we're talking Oklahoma, Texas, and my phone rings every day. So not only do the contractors come, but the labor pool comes too. And you know, we only use local, right? But so you'll have a contractor come who has a truck and a ladder, and they'll go around and sell all these jobs. And then this group of laborers come out, you know, roofers, and they'll do the work, and then if they do the work, you know, but they'll do, you know, and then they all just go away. And so if you have a customer service concern later, that's kind of a bummer for you. The other thing I'd like to mention is when you do business with people, especially in a storm environment, when there's a storm, that contractor I mentioned that'll come in from out of town will have a little paragraph in his contract that it's called a contingency. And I understand why people put it in there. You do a lot of upfront work to get an insurance claim settled. There is a lot of work that goes into that. I get it. But that contingency may say that if by signing here, you agree that if the insurance claim is paid, you agree you have to do the work with me.
Gotcha.
And I get it, and I get there's a place for it, but I just caution people to look for that and understand what they're getting into with that language. And we've never done that. And I think if you get through the whole process with the insurance, and if they don't want to do the roof with us, that's fine, you know. And it maybe happened 3 times of all the tons of roofs we've done. And I just tell my guys, I go, maybe you didn't do a good enough job.
Yeah.
You know, so I never want to make people feel like they're backed into a corner with that. So that's something to watch out for.
Yeah, and as you talk about what the contingency with regard to the work that's being done, once they're gone, they're gone. I had another guest on here that talked about they do garages, and they said that's the tail light warranty. Your warranty is as good as long as you can still see the tail lights.
Right.
So as soon as they're gone, and you've got to now fix that roof on your own.
Yeah, yeah.
And not something you necessarily want to be stuck with.
Yeah, it can be a shame, and you don't wish it on anybody. Yeah.
Well, as we finish up here, we got about a minute left. Tell me, how have these storms that have come through recently, have we got an abrupt amount of storms in St. Louis get hit by these periodically? Is this worse than other times? And what should people be wary of in dealing with all of this action that's happened in St. Louis, these storms that came through here?
Sure. Yeah, it's been, we've had, by my count, 3 major storm events in the last, 2-3 months. And, be wary of the fly-by-night people, look for local people, as we talked about. Understand that insurance companies are paying out a tremendous amount of money right now, and they have an incentive to deliver a return, or they're a for-profit entity, so right. They might not always, their first settlement recommendation may not always be the best, so if you have a qualified contractor like us, or and there are a few others out there, but they can advocate for you and be sure you're getting the proper settlement. It needs to be right. So but the hail, it's bananas out there right now, and and we're seeing it, and we're here to help if we can help anybody navigate.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Jones, St. Louis Residential Roofing, right here on our show on the Your Little Castle Show. Giddy up.